All right, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September 1st, I cannot believe that, date of the Business and Community Affairs Committee for the City of Norman. Today, we have one item on the agenda, and it is to review and discuss a proposal by Strong Towns to be included in their Community Action Lab. So before we open it up, I'm just going to go ahead and say it that I fully support this initiative. I think it's going to be coming at a critical time in Norman's future, and with all the uncertainty and kind of opportunity that's out there orbiting Norman, I really don't think that this could come at a better time. So I believe that Jane has a staff presentation for us, so I'll go ahead and open it up for you.
Thank you. So I gave everyone a packet of the information that we had received for the Community Action Lab, and feel free to read through it. Before I start, I just wanted to read, so in learning about Strong Towns, the first thing that they state in their letter back to us is that, they're working to make America's cities financially strong and resilient. So their vision is to seek to have the Strong Town approach be the default way that every city, town, and neighborhood pursues growth and development. And they're looking to lead, the cities with financial strength and resilience. And their mission, and I just want to outline everything that we had in the packet. While I'm not Strong Towns, I just want to give everybody an overview of what was in there. But their mission, again, is to promote a pattern of development that's financially strong and resilient. They want to advocate for cities of all sizes to be safe, livable, inviting. And then they want to work to elevate the local government to be the highest level of collaboration for the people working together within the community. Again, their strategies, they want to inform and educate. They feel like that, part of getting a strong town is making sure that everybody in the community is understanding what is going on and how they can make it better, connecting everyone, and then they also want to be able to support us and guide us in that direction as we move forward with the project. So the Community Action Lab 2023 is their most in-depth resource ever, as they've outlined in here, and I put 5 at the end of that because that's key. They will only be taking 5 communities, cities, for this 2-year endeavor that they're going to be starting on in January of 2023. The first 12 months, they'll be providing active community engagement, and I'll go through some of the phases that they will be promoting here within the community, and it's amazing the amount of detail that they have proposed for that. And then in the second 12 months, after we've gone through everything with them, they continue to have the ongoing support for the local leaders and the community groups, although remotely, they are still there to continue to guide us, answer questions, or give additional direction that we might need. The 3-pronged approach that they have, their vision is communicating. They want to train and coach, and they want to engage the broader community. So this is huge for our goal moving forward. They have 5 phases of the Community Action Lab. There'll be the preparation, launch, the capacity building, the action, and then the continued ongoing support that they'll give us. So phase 1, in preparation of the Community Action Lab, they will have, they'll survey community members, they'll establish and target local audience for online content, identify a date and a venue for the kickoff event. They'll establish media contacts, assemble an action team, and they'll lay additional groundwork that might be needed to get this going forward. Their launch consists of the large public engagement. They'll host the public kickoff in the community, including lectures, Q&A sessions, and opportunities for walking tours, anything else that's going to get the information to them that they need from us, and again, starting that connection. And then they'll share initial curriculum materials and discuss project goals. After the initial engagement, they shift into the capacity building phase of the Action Lab. They'll include coaching sessions every 2 to 3 weeks with the action team. And this is an implementation of full content marketing strategy to increase local engagement, topics of community interest, public events, anything that we might need to get out there. So phase 4, action. Following the second public event, they'll shift their emphasis from learning and discussion to implementation. They'll focus on specific local challenges and how to apply the Strong Towns concept. They might bring in outside experts that they, think that might help us, which would be great, get another set of eyes and opinions on everything. And then the marketing strategy and media outreach efforts will continue, and the community engagement will continue as well. Phase 5, after the 1 year, so they will conclude the first year. Then they will invite the leadership, the action team, and the broader community to stay engaged with the Strong Town movement. They'll continue to offer action team members access to courses and resources that they might have, and they'll remain responsive, again, although remotely, to any assistance that we might need as we move forward. So again, in your packet, on the third page there, in their response back to us, I just took a little blurb from it, but changing the conversation. There needs to be an alternative that is both desirable and achievable within the framework of our local decision-making process. They think that Norman is perfectly positioned at this point in development to not only alter the course, but to be the regional leader that can inspire others to change their approach as well. I thought that was amazing. A couple of success stories that they had in some of their packet of information. They had Hays, Kansas, and Hays, Kansas, I got a little pamphlet that they had, a candid conversation. And so Strong Towns helped them outline, some of their struggles and direction that they needed to go, of how to fix some of the pattern of growth that they've had. They stated in this pamphlet that the revenues that they're receiving are not sufficient enough to justify the current expenses. Our growth rate is just simply unsustainable. And then they also had outlined they're concerned, and we hear this here in Norman as well, but the underutilized areas. They had areas within town that had this public services that they needed for development, but they continued to develop out without those services, and then, being asked to provide those services out there, and then, of course, the continued maintenance for those services. So that one was a really good one. And then they had Fate Texas that they'd worked with. Fate Texas was working on their comprehensive plan, and they started a year-long process. And of course, this was before they had the Community Action Lab. That's going to be, next year's going to be their first year, but they were invited to Fate Texas to start the year-long process for their comprehensive plan, and they brought them in for the foundation framework. And again, this is discussing the fiscal responsibility that a community has, and so Strong Towns worked with them as well. So they've been around for a while. So this brings me to the relation to our comp plan, because I know many of you know that we're getting ready to start for our comprehensive plan. And on the next slide, you'll see the timeline. But their timeline is obviously going to overlap with what we're going to be doing for our comprehensive plan. If we move forward with this, it will start in January of next year. About the same time, we would be looking at starting with our comprehensive plan with consultants. I mean, we might be looking at February or something like that, but essentially they're going to continue to overlap, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we just have to make sure that everybody that's on each committee understands that they're both going to be working together on this. And so some of the committee members will be on both committees. The schedules, that will have to be carefully arranged. Of course, the comp plan will extend past the 1-year meeting timeframe that Strong Towns will be here for. But we'll be able to move forward with all the information that we get from them into our process for our comprehensive plan. And here's their timeline for the Community Action Lab. As I said, they're looking to start in January of 2023. 2023 will be the on-site or the continued discussions, and then of course in 24 they'll be just checking back with us to see how we're doing, which also will probably be a good thing, because if there's anything going on as we're working on the comprehensive plan, we'll be able to go back to them, as well, and ask questions and see what they're seeing in the other communities. Because like I said, they're going to be doing 5. So if we do it, there'll be 4 other communities that we'll be able to get information from. I think that will be really good. So the total cost of this proposal is $149,875. They've broken down here how they would expect the payment. On this slide, the question is, we need to determine what funding source this is going to come from. But I think it's a great idea. I know Councilmember Peacock submitted the application, and one of the things, Strong Towns has been around for a long time. There's been several programs that we've actually watched here at Norman too. We sign up for them and we do them during lunch, and stuff like that. One of the things that they promote is parking requirements and everything, and so that's one of the reasons that Councilmember Peacock brought that forward, and many other things. But they're a good program, and they have a lot of information that they could provide to us. So I'll throw it back to you and see what your thoughts are on how you want to move forward or not.
I'll go ahead and add to that a little bit that Chuck Marone, the founder and president, he's actually a civil engineer in a former life, so I think that he's able to speak the language and be able to work with staff on a lot of levels and coordinating some of those efforts. So, Councilman Holman.
Yeah, I've been a long-time follower of Strong Towns, and really the best thing about it is that their focus is on cities becoming financially solvent and not deading themselves into oblivion and letting infrastructure fall apart because they can't afford to maintain it. So they have so many articles about not just urban development and urban issues, but they have a lot of stuff about rural issues, small towns, agricultural. I mean, really just across the whole gambit of things that we deal with, for sure. So I've always looked at Strong Towns as one of my primary resources when considering policy here in Norman. And so I think it's really great timing that we're trying to figure out our long-term planning document and being able to have the opportunity to have this resource. I feel like this investment could save us a lot more than that cost. So that's why I would feel like that would be justified, is if it helps us become more financially solvent and independent and all that going into the future. I think it would be worth that cost.
I think so too. I think it was Councilmember Grant first.
Also to echo that, I've been following them. Actually sent Councilmember Holman the Pennsylvania land tax experiment article they had.
Okay.
We were talking about doing an East Side TIF, and I kind of would love to know more about how to structure those things. So I'm very excited about getting into this.
Excellent. Councilmember Schuler.
Sorry, yeah.
I see him in
We
the
did
corner
a
of my
nod.
eye, sorry.
So just want to, I guess, lend my support to this proposal. Councilmember Peacock brought me in on kind of the front end of thinking about us putting in an application for this. And, doing a little research. I sat on a webinar where they were kind of explaining what the project scope was going to look like and what would happen over the 2 years. And he and I really talked a lot about all of the major projects and major, I think, events that are coming to Norman that we're currently dealing with. We could just name them out. I think the comp plan is just one massive piece of that. And so I think that, and then couple that with what I think Strong Towns does really well is understanding how to communicate with elected officials, so like the legislative body, the staff members of the city, planning department, community. So bringing all of these interested and I guess stakeholders together to have a robust conversation about what is the vision for our community. And I think it's really exciting that it's not just looking at one small piece of Norman, but this will be a comprehensive look at our community and what we want to build for the future. So, I mean, I think that, and then just only double down by the fact that they do, their practice is to think about fiscal responsibility, and that is something that I think that we need to strongly think about, especially in Norman and, you know, I think communities across Oklahoma because of the way that we're funded through sales tax. And so really understanding that dynamic is really important, but also unique to our state. And so we've got some, you know, specific challenges that we need to address as community. And so I think, you know, it may look like a large price tag. I think that we've spent more money on, in some ways, less important things than like what is the full scoping of the vision of our community. And so I think that this would be money well spent towards that endeavor.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And we talk about funding sources, you know, we have this surplus of sales tax dollars, and, you know, we've agreed to spend some of that on other studies. So I feel like this really falls in line with that. And again, it's an investment in ourselves. So spend money to save money down the road, I think. So I believe you were next, Councilor Selby.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to echo now because Councilmember Grant stole my thunder there. I was going to talk about the east side tip, that this would be great with that coming down the line to have an outside party kind of help talk to us about what we could do to develop that area. I met with Scott Martin today over at the Chambers, just trying to get some ideas of what can we do to get that side developed. So I think I would really be interested to see what they have to say. And then also with us talking about, you know, different plans for our city and how we're going to grow. I'm curious, I do have a couple questions. Whenever we're talking about developing and growing our city, and especially with the SEC coming, is this something that OU could be a part of to be at the table, discuss what that looks like with growth and things? And then the other question is, you said that this is one of 5, or only 5 communities are going to be selected. Have they already selected us?
I think by virtue of that we were given a written proposal. Basically, if we sign the dotted line, we're selected.
Okay.
Yeah, there was an application and then an interview, kind of one-on-one process, and then, you know, if they felt comfortable like you were a good fit, then they gave you the proposal.
Perfect. Well, I'm all about this. I think it's a great idea.
Excellent. Mayor Heiko, I'm sorry to keep you waiting over there.
And that's my question too. One of the things that we have to do is take our partners, the county, the university, the large businesses that are here, all these larger employers, and get that as a conversation. And if we're not one of the 5, then there are other vibrant cities. I mean, they're all similar plans that go in there, similar ways of going. I don't know about the differences in cost, but there are other ways of helping people coming to help us manage that change and to direct that change in the right way, which is, I think, a brilliant idea. We have to do something. We're at a generational opportunity with a lot of these things that are coming down here.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do with the turnpike coming through? What are we going to do with all the stuff the universities do? What are we going to do with all this other stuff? Instead of wringing our hands, make a plan and go with it. Is there a fallback plan if this doesn't work?
I'm sure there could be.
I haven't pursued anything, and really, for me, it's because the Strong Towns brand is just so widely recognized and you know, respected. You know, I think that just from a PR and marketability standpoint for Norman, being selected as one of the 5 cities across the nation by Strong
Right.
Towns, that's a huge feather in our cap in itself right there, let alone all the positive benefits that come from the process.
Well, as an afterthought, we might think about what we're going to do if it doesn't, if we're not one of the 5,
Fair.
if something
Fair.
is in it. And that, to me, would be choosing another program.
Absolutely.
And which other ones would be there if you want to read Studer's books or,
Yep.
you know, somebody else's books.
Well, and you mentioned Quinn Studer when he came and talked to the NEDC membership luncheon. I can't remember, it was 6 months ago or so. he said, if you want to have vibrant communities, you bring strong towns in.
Yeah.
If you want to have better walkability, you hire Jeff Speck and bring him in. So again, the name and the brand is highly respected. And so I think, the
100%.
fact they're willing to take a chance on us just speaks volume on what we've got going for us and some of the opportunity that we could really mess up if we don't do it the right way.
And it's not a heck of a cost, I don't think.
I don't think so either. And we were talking, I forget the dollar amounts for some of the other studies. We talked about funding with sales tax, excess sales tax, but I think this is right in line with some of that stuff.
Talking
So-
about hundreds of millions in planning.
Right, absolutely. Councilmember Grant, I believe you were first.
Yeah. I kind of clarify, so you're saying if we didn't sign the dotted line, we need a plan B?
If they don't choose us.
Wow. I think if we sign it, we're doing it, but also, I also like the part where they give us support, even after we're done with the 2
Absolutely.
years.
I've done a lot of the strong town, the courses that you were alluding to, and they are top notch. I mean, it's like grade A content. So just having access to that for staff and residents, I think that's a huge component as well. That I don't know if that's really reflected in the dollar amount necessarily, but it's a huge perk. So, Councilmember Schuler.
Yeah, just, I guess to kind of clarify, at least my understanding, since I've been kind of walking this process with Councilmember Peacock, since the beginning, I was on some of the initial conversations and interviews and things. It seems to me, and I think he and I are both aware, and I kind of want to say this again, just like highlight, I don't think that we would have gotten a proposal if we weren't being selected. So I don't think that they gave out, like 10 proposals to cities to kind of see. I think they're waiting for us to make the move, and then if not, then they might select somebody else. So I really think that like we are one of the 5. That's the way that I see it.
I see it too.
So just based on previous conversations and kind of the flow of the process. So
Hopefully that's true.
yeah.
Well, it seems like we have consensus around this table. Do you have what you need to kind of move forward, next steps?
Well, I'm going to look to Catherine and Beth.
Yeah, so part of this proposal has a very, maybe the easiest agreement you've ever read on the back page.
It's the budget is like the last 2 pages, and then the agreement is right before that.
19.
We'll work with
Page
finance
19.
and the city manager to identify the funds that'll be proposed. I'm assuming you're gonna come from the savings account or general fund balance.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably tweak this agreement a little bit just to make sure we adequately incorporate all the deliverables and things like that, and then bring that forward to council.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
And they haven't communicated a deadline.
No, not necessarily. I just don't want them to twist in the wind too long, because like we've
Right.
talked about, I think we're one of the 5, and
Right.
I'd like to get them
Okay.
some kind of direction sooner rather than later.
And we-
We'll work on that.
And then they start January?
January 1st.
Sweet.
Councilmember Schuler, were you about to say something?
Well, I was just gonna say in the conversations, it seemed like they would like to have stuff wrapped up by November-ish.
I think so, yeah.
We can.
So, yeah, I think that was the timeline that they seemed to be on. Like, we would hope to have kind of agreements and be ready to go so that by January 1, they'd be ready and to kind of hit the ground running, because they'd like to see it kind of go those 12 months for the full calendar year.
Meeting that
Would
deadline.
be the
should not a
easiest,
problem.
yeah.
Perfect.
Just real quick, in your packets also, if talking about the deliverables, on page 12, just whenever you can, I mean, that's listed out in there, so you'll have an idea of what they're talking about as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help putting this together so quickly. I know it was kind of a last minute add to the agenda, so definitely appreciate you, staff's help and work, so. Oh, Councilmember
I
Holmes.
just mentioned that they are real familiar with Norman too, that Charles Marone's been here and at least once, maybe twice, to the Urban Land Institute.
Symposium. I think
Yes,
is what
the
it was.
every other spring thing that
Yep.
used to go on, they need to bring it back, but.
Yeah. Yeah, so that also, again, that connection with ULI, we've got a really strong ULI membership group in Oklahoma, so that crossover, I think, will be an added benefit as well. So,
Okay.
if that's all the discussion, I believe this meeting is adjourned. Appreciate you guys.